Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Vanucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week.
Hello.
Hello, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good.
Yeah,
I'm good. I apologize for the fake background. I came home to I have in-laws staying with me. I've had my house is normally a household of 4, and I've had 8 in my house for a week already. And yeah, it's fine. It's there's enough space in the house that most of the time we're not right on top of each other, but I came home to like just plumbing issues, and I was like, oh
no.
my God. Yeah, and it actually, like, the main floor bathroom overflowed, and it's right on top of where I would normally sit. I need my nice new setup and everything. So I came home and everything's like, come on, guys! Like, I just got the desk set up the way I wanted
awesome.
it.
Oh, I know, it's like a classic moment.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So fake background, and I'm wedged myself into a corner of the house where, I've kind of threatened on pain of death that they need to leave me alone at least for an hour. So.
Fair. Well, it looks good. It looks very zen,
Thanks. Oh yeah. That's exactly what I am. Calming. I'm zen right now.
Just find your space. Just close your eyes. Breathe. Breathe.
Yeah. Tomorrow is a different day. That's
right.
Sure.
Always.
How are you?
Good. Yeah. I'm good. It's been busy. It's been very, very busy with work and school and family and life.
You did a bit of traveling, right? You were away.
Yep, I was away. I was away in Calgary.
Nice.
I think 2 weekends ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was great. It was snowy there, though. I was not prepared for that, but
it's Calgary.
It's Calgary. That's what everyone said when I was there. They're like, what were you expecting?
What you expect? It's November. It's Calgary.
Yeah.
We talked to someone on the Righteous Gelato team yesterday.
Oh, nice.
And she was without humor when we were telling her about how fair weathered we all were. She literally said, I'm freezing here, and I'm trying to stay warm.
-24 or -26 or some number like that.
She was not amused that both of us.
But you know what? It's Calgary. At least it's bright.
Yeah.
She really wasn't. She wasn't amused at all. She was just like, "Why are you telling me about +degree weather? I don't give a crap."
I know we have had some nice weather.
We have. Yeah. Oh man.
All good.
Today we have Simona Irwin on, and Simona is part of Uprising Naturals, which we'll hear about. But we've actually had Simona on already on a fast thought that we did together after CHFA, and I think we've talked to Simona a couple of times just off the podcast as well. So it's just nice to have you back. I feel like when we talk, even when we met you the first time, it was just kind of like you just kind of fit, like we like. But
this is like is this the first podcast? Because I feel like we've done a couple.
Yeah, no, we did a fast thought together.
I remember
was
that.
Like 10 minutes or less.
You know what I mean? It seems
and
like
then we did have a conversation together.
Okay, that's
but that's right. It, right? But this is what I'm saying, right? Is it just felt like, like it is. I feel
like we've known you for a long time.
Yeah, I'm like the missing link on this podcast.
You may be.
You might be.
Yeah, you just might be. You might be. Listen, next 45 minutes is yours. Tell us about you, like where you come from, where you got to where you are, like the Uprising Naturals thing is super cool. Yeah, all that stuff. Wherever you want to start.
Awesome. Yeah, obviously jump in too if you have questions or if there's kind of more to share. But I think there's like a few places I could start, but like probably the before of like starting the career was my grandma's store. She owned a retail store in Shakespeare, Ontario,
Mhm.
and it was an all year round Christmas store. So I kind of grew
Oh,
up
it's awesome.
in the store. I
Yeah.
started when I was like 7, getting paid $5 an hour to swat flies because there's a lot of
$5 an
farmers
hour?
around. Yeah, it was pretty
You were
generous
crushing
with my
it.
grandma.
Yeah, at 7, that's
It was
That's
pretty good. And I had to
pretty
huge.
write a
decent.
timesheet and I had
Yeah.
to, pay myself and cash the check and stuff. So I kind of started, I guess, in retail early. By the time I was maybe 13, I would spend a few weeks of every summer there and I would be making the displays and ordering inventory. And obviously, I had no idea what any of that meant or what it was teaching me, but
Yeah.
it was something fun to do. And my
Wow.
grandma was willing to pay me for it. And eventually, she actually started to travel to China and would import things for her store and started a bit of a wholesale business too. So I helped her by taking Polaroid pictures of things and making like a catalog for her wholesale orders. And
That's awesome.
yeah, it was really
So you,
interesting and
yeah.
eventually helping to do like the taxes and all sorts of stuff. So it was it was an experience that I really didn't value, to be honest, and
Mm.
until much later. And when I looked back and was like, why did this kind of work out for me?
But you were 7. Like,
Yeah. There's
it's
nothing
kind of
to
not
I valued the
like,
money.
yeah.
And
No,
even
but
then, what do you really value? You know what I mean? Like you don't really get it. But I mean, that's
Yeah,
good that
the training never
I like
leaves you
it.
though, right?
No,
Like, I
that's
think
right.
that's the thing, right? Is
absolutely. And that's what
yeah, yeah,
grandma knew,
yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
very much. My grandma and also my aunt worked there for a while, and she was very much like, she's like, this is how you merchandise. And she was teaching me these
Mm.
like this
Oh, that's
words and these
cool.
language and these
Yeah,
trade shows. And she'd be like, this
yeah.
is how you act at a trade show. And
This is how
so
you yell at a vendor.
that's right. This is how you get a
This is
sale.
how you beg. This is how you treat a customer.
That's right.
But you know
Yeah.
what? All little things that, that's really good.
Yeah. It really, really
That's
paid
smart
off.
grandma.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Because when
yeah.
I started working, I had many jobs kind of through my teenage years, but when I really kind of started my career, I walked into Whole Foods just shortly after it opened in, I guess, 2002, I think is when it opened in Toronto. And I remember feeling like, oh, I have no experience, but they posted for this body care buyer. And, I just really want this job. And so I went and interviewed for it and had just an amazing boss named Jenna. And she did my interview and she was like, you have enough experience and, I just have a feeling about you. And so I'm just going to take a chance on you and bring you onto the team. So I was,
Wow,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
fantastic.
it was amazing. I was
Yeah.
so grateful. And I felt like, I remember thinking like, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to have to fake it and pretend. But like, I
You
know
really do fit with us.
No joke. This is actually kind of scary. Oh my God.
I love it so much. That's
it's just like
awesome.
the internal process, right? So I was, all I knew was that I had been shopping in health food stores since I was 16 and was like a very early adopter of like natural foods. And I think I was probably vegan still at that point. And so when I walked into like my first day of the job, I was so happy. And it was like, I don't know if anyone else cared that they worked at Whole Foods, but I was like, I work at Whole Foods and
It's
like
pretty awesome.
all of my favorite products are on the shelf. And then when I walk into the back, there's pallets of my favorite foods.
Oh my God.
It was just so
That's amazing.
epic. I know.
I could feel that. I love that. I can totally understand what you're saying. Love it.
Yeah, it was just so amazing. And I think, they probably really saw that in me and how genuinely excited I was. And so I ended up working at Whole Foods for I think almost 6 years. And
Wow.
it was just an incredible like master class in buying and merchandising and being in charge of a P&L for several departments that I
Ugh,
was
Right.
running. And
ugh,
it was
P&Ls.
yes,
Well, you got to have them.
Yeah, no,
you
you
gotta
gotta have
have
them.
them.
Yeah.
Purchase orders, receiving logs, like all of these things that I was like, yeah, I think I know how to do that. It's like, oh my God, how do you do this? And then figuring it out. And but it was so great. And so I went from buying in the body care department to the vitamins department, and then housewares, and then ended up running the whole body section in
Oh,
the
wow.
Yorkville store and the Oakville store,
Wow.
and working a lot with the Canadian buyer then, who was John Hopperton.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just was like really, really blessed with getting like an excellent education and introduction at a really special time too. That was like when Charles launched Vega. So
Yeah.
that was like we were the first account, and we had like the training and brought it in, and we're so excited to to work with them. And it was like Manitoba Harvest, and it was just all these
All the cool
original
brands at the
brands.
time, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was really, really
Wow.
exciting. And all of the training that we got. And there was, I mean, I know it's kind of similar now, but I think back then it was even more. It was like every week our team went for a brand training, and they bring these big bags of samples, and some sort of celebrity to us, like Sam Gracie from Greens
Mhm.
Plus
Right.
or
Mhm,
whatever. And
mhm.
we'd all
Yeah.
just like absorb everything, and then go out there and like sell the crap out of the product to the customers. So it
It's a
was
really pivotal time too, if you think of it.
yes.
Like those two stores are the really iconic stores, right? Like they changed, because I think I live 10 minutes from Square One, right? So where that Square One store is, I grew up in Oakville, and you kind of like those two stores, they're extremely influential even now where they are. But that back then it was like, well, back then it's not that long ago, but but
It
back
is
then
though.
it really is like it changed the way we shop, right? And it changed your shopping destinations, everything. It's kind of crazy.
Well, you think about between them and Trader Joe's in the States, that
Yeah.
was, I mean, that was your that we didn't have anybody
Yeah.
national in that space. Like there was
No.
like who did you have that was really in health? We had tons of little health food stores and health stores, but not like holy shit, like
Yeah.
this is a beast.
But and when because I remember when those stores opened, I remember the conversations even around like, is there enough of a demographic to support these stores? Like we get, like we get Whole Foods in the US, and we get like, in California, these are crazy stores, but like, are Canadians like this? Like, are we gonna like these stores? Like,
I think they
is
probably
enough
looked at
people
us
gonna
on this
buy
side
it, right?
because on
Like,
our side we did it,
yeah,
right?
in Vancouver, you go, yeah, yeah,
We
that
had
makes sense,
Capers, we
right?
had
Like that,
Choices and Whole
like,
Foods, like
yeah,
we
yeah,
had, and you can do it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It takes a little. You just got to
Uh,
plant sometimes.
that's
Plant
so
the store.
cool.
That's
Right
fantastic.
in
What
the
a great.
middle of it, eh? That's really
Wow.
cool.
Yeah, it was an amazing
Wow.
time. It was like even just the
Very cool.
stores as they grew. And we just had so many funny stories. I met someone the other day, and she had worked for the soap company. And I think one of the special things about Whole Foods is we would do these huge displays, right? And you would cross merchandise so many different departments,
Mhm.
in the different departments. But one time when I was working, we had done this big soap display, and it was like cut your own bulk soap. And at the Yorkville store at the time, we had like a big theft problem for a while when it first opened, and people would just really like just try to steal whatever they could. And then this one woman walked by, and she noticed the soap wheels, which obviously she didn't realize were soap, and then cut a huge piece. And she turned and saw me and put it in her mouth because she thought it was cheese.
Oh no.
And
Oh
so,
no.
yeah,
Oh my God.
and her face. And it was
That's
like these
karma biting you in the
affluent,
ass.
yeah, it was like these affluent, like Yorkville, like it was just a funny
Yeah.
thing, but there was just all these quirks of being there. So yeah, it was a really good time. And yeah, just was so grateful for that. And I had the opportunity kind of close to the end that I would go to the US and help them open new stores, which
Oh,
was
wow.
amazing. So just doing
Also awesome.
all the merchandising and setting up all the displays. And it was then when I kind of got the idea for what would be my next pivot, which was just seeing like the huge lack of products that we had in Canada that the Whole Foods in the US had, especially like body care products and lifestyle products and environmental products. So we, myself and a business partner that was working at Whole Foods at the time, we had the idea, again, kind of like out of nowhere with no experience. We're like, I think we should open a distribution company. And I think we should bring all these products into Canada so people can have the same great products
For sure.
that have in the US. Yeah. So it was like very maybe like a little naive, but like very excited.
So you actually pulled the trigger and did this.
So we pulled the trigger and did it. I had a talk with Whole Foods, gave them like a long notice because it was like very much felt like family there, and told them my plan. And obviously I wanted them to be my first customer, and they agreed. So we kind of went out and really with no capital, we just kind of arranged on both sides. It's like, okay, they're gonna give us these long terms, and Whole Foods is already kind of promising these orders. So we're going to try to make this thing work. So it was just a 2-person team. It was called One World Distribution. And we started like the first half year, we kind of did 70,000 in sales, and we were like, oh, this is pretty good. And then the second year we did over $1 million in sales, and we're selling just everywhere across Canada. And we had just amazing brands. Like we brought in Clean Canteen to Canada, and all sorts of organic clothing lines and baby clothes and vitamin, like the Seabuck vitamin products and all these different lines. So it was quite, it was amazing. And, hired a small staff and tried to figure out, eventually we were packing everything ourselves for a while in like a very strange warehouse on Keele Street, and which I'm sure would not be okay now. I think things are like more certain.
It's a different time.
It was a different time.
And I'm sure you were label compliant and all your NPNs, and you had your all the accreditations to actually service.
It'll be fine.
Good for you.
Are you sure we need that? Yeah.
Well, someone said you might. Whatever, right? I mean, I don't know.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah. So it was really cool. We were importing eventually through China and India directly, and obviously from the US, and we were selling obviously to Whole Foods, and then also to the Bay and to Indigo, and tons of independent retailers, Capers, all sorts of places. So it was really really exciting until we kind of came into the recession time, and we had these huge containers coming over that people had ordered. They take like some time to get, and it's like, okay, everyone's gonna be fine. And then our huge customers, who I will not remain nameless for this podcast, when we went to deliver the order, they refused it, and they said, they were like, oh, we're on a buying freeze. And so they had ordered $500,000 of product from us, and then it just got turned back. And so it's a very unique, I think a lot of like founders and entrepreneurs they know this feeling. It's like you all of a sudden owe someone, like $250,000.
And you have and nobody wants to buy it.
No one wants to buy it. And you're like,
and that's not uncommon at that time. That's just 2008, 2009, right?
That's right. That's exactly when it was.
And especially the large retailers who you thought would help. No, they punt it back. Not interested. But you ordered it.
Not interested.
Oh my God. I can't even handle it now.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
that's hard, right? That's a big hit.
It
Now you're
was
on the hook for
big.
a $250,000.
Wow.
The person on the other end doesn't really give a shit. It's not their problem.
No, not at all. And we're like, we're just like two girls in our 20s.
Whatever.
Like,
Oh my God.
we're like, what are we gonna do? And so yeah, it was interesting. I think, one
Yeah,
of
that's crazy.
the things that I really learned through having, I think I learned it at Whole Foods somewhat. There was a lot of stress and like a lot of busyness at Whole Foods, of course, and a lot of pressure to make numbers. But this type of stress was something totally different. I was like, oh my gosh, like, what do we do? And, I own nothing. I'm just in my 20s. Like,
Right.
so I had to really learn how, how can I sit with this stress and how can I not allow it to just put me into freeze
To consume
completely.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, what can I do? I have to kind of like pull like the bootstraps up and start to communicate with these companies and just kind of let them know what's happening, make a plan, and just kind of see it through. So
It's not a little number. Like it's not a
When you're mid-20s and you probably barely own the shoes on your feet,
no,
yes,
it's a big, big number.
like
it was a big number.
when you come out of
Yeah.
uni, right, and you get your first credit card,
Yeah,
you have a small moment like that, right? Because at
totally.
least I did, right? Like you kind of go, "Woo, I got a credit
Well, you
card,"
got a
and then you get the
$500,
bill, and you're
$1,000
like,
limit. You're
"Holy
thinking,
shit, how am I gonna pay for this?" But but you kind of like, and it's the same sort of feeling, except in that case, maybe it's like $800, $900 you don't have, right?
Yeah,
So you're like, but $250,000, like that is
and it's not liquid.
like
It's
yeah.
not everybody.
Because
You
it's a
can't just walk
like
down
recession.
the
when
Like,
you
street.
said it, my stomach dropped
Yeah.
out. Like I know that was like over 10 years ago. Like that's like 15
yeah,
years ago, but I'm like,
it was
what?
really
Like
painful. Like I remember
crap.
I would be going to yoga, I'd be like doing things obviously, and I'd be sitting there and I'd be
Did it help?
like
No.
it helped,
Okay.
because I was like, I think a lot of things helped. Like I
Uh,
had the kind of the Whole Foods version of, stress, and I had my own stress from obviously like my own life and
yeah.
childhood and stuff. And then when this came, I was like, okay, this is horrible.
Money stress is a really
And
ugly thing, though, isn't it?
it
It
really
really
is.
eats
Yeah.
at the pit and core of you. Like
Yeah.
it's really vile. It's just really, it's really ugly.
It's really, really hard. And I think it takes
Yeah.
a lot to not panic.
Mhm.
And
But how do you not panic? So what do you do? I mean, you can yoga all day. I'm
so
not
Yeah,
proud
what
of
do
you,
you
but
I'll tell you.
Jesus, Murphy, like,
Simona's like, get over it. I'll tell you to stop.
well, what the hell?
Yeah. So I mean, it was really, I think it was like it's kind of like going through like the levels of grief or whatever. It's like first you reach acceptance. It's like, and then you go to denial, and then you like go back and forth. But eventually, it was truly just like acceptance, communication, and then making a plan. So we were like, okay, we're gonna have to sell this. Originally, we thought we'd, make some profit. Like, let's just take that off the table and let's just
Yeah.
like get this done, make these payment plans with people and just like do it. So we spent the next year, I think it took us about a year, just over a year, to just like really sell everything through, pay, as much as we could to everyone that
Oh,
we
it's tough.
could. Yeah, it was really tough. And then eventually we just kind of made a call and we were like, okay, what are we gonna do here? Like we finally kind of washed our hands of most of this. And, do we double down? Do we get an investment? Do we try to sell the company? Our sales were still good, but so much of it was just going into different things. And they had dropped, of course, too, because of the recession. And so eventually we had a meeting with Horizon Distribution, and they were talking to us about purchasing. It didn't work out, but then the owner at that time, he was really, really wonderful, and he was like, we're not going to purchase, but like, I'll, anytime, even starting now, I'd be happy to have either of you guys like work at my company and help with this company. And so it was like that nice vote of confidence, because at the time we were like, oh, we're horrible. Like no one ever has a failed business. It must
Yeah.
be
You're the only
bad.
two.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
Uh-huh.
only two.
No.
Nobody else
Right?
had that problem in the recession, just the two of
No
you.
one. It was just us. And we're like, so it was like a really hard period. So eventually we closed the business. We kind of parted ways as best we could. And then I was living in Toronto then, and I ended up moving out to Vancouver with my husband, and just being like, okay, I have to take a few months off. And I have to like get a little zen here, and like, what am I going to do next? Where do I want to go? And it's, I think when anyone has a business that it like, it's like what goes up must come down. And it's like we had this really high peak, really young, and it's like we've made it, like now we're the millionaire, like, the
Yeah,
business makes
yeah,
$1
yeah,
million,
yeah.
so that means we're millionaires, and all of these things, and then you kind of like lose it all. And it's like very, very humbling. So I had to take a few months and just kind of was like, what am I going to do with my life? And I'm going to just be in Vancouver, and I'm going to like walk out to Kitsilano Beach every day and look at the mountains, and just something different's going to happen for me. So, which was great until I started to run out of money. I was like,
It's
okay, it's
always this
really
money thing. It just keeps coming up.
Such
I
a
don't
problem
understand.
child.
Like it just
it is
sucks.
such a
Like,
problem child. I
yeah.
know. And then in Kitsilano too, I'm like, of course I have to pick here to pay rent. Like,
And think about it, it wasn't even brutal at that time. It was high, like relative to other places, but
yeah,
it was quasi manageable.
it
But
was
when you can't
quite.
rub two nickels together, like I mean,
That's
seriously.
right. Yeah. And
Oh
then I
my
had
God.
such this notion in my mind too, where it was like, because I had this business, it's like, and because it didn't work out, no one is ever going to hire me again. There was like all these kind of stories in my head. And it was like, I just did not see it at the time as like such a meaningful experience that was just gave me so like such a huge education. So but I ended up kind of calling around, and it was like kind of like was the CEO of this company, and then I was like applying for these jobs that it was like front desk person for like a naturopathic clinic. Like, I guess I'll do this, and like I was like, I can do anything, so I'll just like do this. And then eventually I kind of like snapped out of it and called some brokers out there. And then that's how I ended up at Michael Theodore Brokerage.
Okay.
And
Got
I
it,
went
got
in
it, got
there,
it.
and he was like,
Yeah.
you have so much experience.
Yeah, you
Like,
failed. Like I mean, ask Michael at that point how many times he had failed,
yeah, exactly. I
right?
know, it was funny. I ended up writing his bio for him when I was there. And it was like, all these like little, like whether it's like the universe or it's just how life
Yeah.
works, it was like all these little meaningful
Yeah.
things would kind of come back to me and just reiterate like, this is fine, like this is just part of the journey.
It's hard though. It's so easy to say after, or so easy to say when you don't get it. But being an entrepreneur, I mean, rarely do you hit it out of the park.
Yes.
Really, rarely do you hit it out of the park ever. Most people,
Yeah.
seriously, and
Yeah,
rarely do you never strike out.
that's right. And
Like
I
it's
also
almost
think
impossible not to fail. You have it's built into
But
it,
I
that's
think
right.
right?
that
But it's
the thing
hard to
that
understand that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the thing that I appreciate so much, right, is if like I don't know, because we've lots of listeners and I think when you were talking about the 250,000 and then spending the next year kind of working your way through that, that's kind of like, when you're a buyer, you make a bad bet on a product.
Yeah.
And every day you look at that fucking product, right? Like, when you got it, you're like, woo, this is the one. Like, I feel it, right? And then, a
Yeah.
week later, you're going, I didn't sell any. I didn't sell any
Yeah.
next week either. I didn't, fuck, I gotta mark this thing down. Like,
Yeah, the same
every
thing
day
ain't
you
going
mark
anywhere.
it down, you kind of go, it's still around. Like,
Yeah.
so I have a real appreciation
And that's
because
not your,
you,
that's at least someone else's money.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is your own money, but you took a year to do it. And even at the end of that, you guys still took a moment. Like, I know me, I'd be like, no, I'm done. Like, you take this thing, you do whatever you want. Like, it's been a constant year of like, oh, or this reminder. I'd want, but you guys actually took some time to think about like, do we want to do this again? Do we want to do more? Do we want to do?
Yes.
And I think that's amazing. Like,
I think it's a built-in wiring thing,
yeah,
is that you have to be able to forget,
Yeah.
right? Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you got to be able to appreciate it and you understand
yeah,
hopefully what you did and try not to do it twice.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens too, but
Mhm.
I think entrepreneurs are wired
Yeah.
different. Is that
The way
you
you
have
shake
this
it off,
ability
right?
to think, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, you shake it off, it's walk it off.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
literally a walk it off, right?
yeah,
Not what you're supposed to say anymore, because no, you walk it off. That's how you do it. And you get your thoughts together, take a breath of air, look at the mountains, look at the ocean, and say, okay,
Mhm.
no, I can do this.
Yeah.
Or I think I can do this. And then you just need one person to pat you in the back and says, oh, you're like, Michael, oh yeah, you're really good. You think that's good. Yeah, I think so too. And
Yeah.
then you forgot and you keep moving.
Yeah. I think it's so true, right? It's like, oh, you get like a little bit of your kick of your confidence back, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I can do this. And then
Yeah.
you start doing the work, and as I started to do the work with him, and even though I had like a completely different role than what I had, and probably could have been doing a lot more, but still I was like, I was like every day I kind of like got my confidence back more and more and more. Um, and but also just like learned so much from his
But you
business.
can learn from him too, because again, he's failed way more than you failed.
Yeah.
Right. And he's okay with it. And what you get then
Yeah.
is you get to see the shit, because you probably look at things thinking we should do it. And he's like, listen, you do it this way. This is what happened. Fuck, okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to worry about that one. I got that one banked.
Yeah.
Right. That's the beauty of sometimes of people like him and many in the
yeah,
industries that
yeah.
Yeah.
they've failed enough times, man. They're you don't have
Well,
to.
and yours is only money. There's no DEA
Yeah.
agents chasing you over the border,
Yeah.
and
You weren't a failed drug dealer. You were
good
just a failed
Lord.
Oh
business person.
yeah. Oh my God. And like living in a cabin in the woods.
You know, like
Thinking,
seriously,
That
like some
that is
hermit.
that is one of the
You should have seen Phil
meanest
when.
jokes that
Oh,
Kenny's ever played. Like, Kenny didn't tell me
I knew the
anything.
story. I mean, I knew the
So
story. I
so
didn't know
I
all the
met
stories, but
Michael,
most of them.
and my mouth just got bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, I just, oh, what? And then what happened? Like, what? Like, is this a script or something? Is this an HBO series, or is this your life, right? Like, what's happening here, right? Like,
yeah.
it's craziness.
Oh my gosh. I know, it's so true. And it's like so interesting, when I think back and I think like, I just ended up there, right? And I ended up there, and then I ended up writing his story for him for his newsletter, and just kind of getting that download from him
How
too.
long did you stay with Michael?
I wasn't there for that long. I was there.
This is like 2010. This is like 2009, 2010.
Yeah, I ended up pregnant. And so I think I was just there for a year, maybe like a bit less than a year.
Okay.
And yeah, it was an interesting time. It was still like these emerging brands. It was like we had Kind Bars and Giovanni Hair Care, and like just like a lot of cool, obviously huge brands now that were just like still, smaller brands that were just emerging into Canada. And we had the best sample closet there ever for a pregnant person too. Oh, and Green and Black's chocolate. Yes, we had Green and Black's chocolate too. So it was
Yummy.
like, yeah, it was amazing. And working there and just learning, even though I had run the distribution business, and through the distribution business, of course, we did all sorts of sales. So I had been on the retail side at Whole Foods, and then the distribution side with my own business. And then this was kind of my stepping foot into like this broker world, which was really different for me to just like, of course, we had tons of brokers at Whole Foods, and I think I didn't really understand like their role or their job until I kind of stepped into that world. And yeah, it was incredible. I was really grateful for that experience. And it was another great time to just to be in that company.
That's cool.
Yeah. So then the story continues. So then I have a baby, and I think it was maybe right around the time when I was getting ready to go back to the brokerage. I got a call about a company that was starting headquartered in Toronto, and it was this Dutch company named Osnutria, and they're like a huge dairy producer in the Netherlands, and they started to sell infant formula. And so they had partnered with two women in Toronto, and they reached out to me and just said, we want you to like run our North American sales, and just to like get it out there and make the sales strategy, and get this product out there. And it was a hard decision because I love Vancouver so much, and coming back to Toronto was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do it, but the opportunity was just really, really good for me and for the family. So I did it, and that was when I started with Cabrita, which was the goat milk formula and goat milk foods company. So that was like another very exciting learning curve.
Cool.
So that was like a brand from really the inception of it. So working on, the regulatory
in a very tough category, because
tough
you're up
category.
against three monsters.
Three monsters. It was the only, when we started, they were like the only options available. So
what else did you have? You had Abbott, Mead, and Nestle. I mean, there really still is Abbott, Mead, and Nestle.
Yes. Now there's like a couple more now. But,
right. But even then, I mean,
but Abbott, is it Abbott who's not Abbott anymore? Because
Abbott,
isn't Abbott Reckitt Benckiser now?
Oh, that's Infamil is now.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Infamil made the change, yeah.
Which makes it worse. Not
Similac was Abbott, right? Enfalac was Mead, and Nestle was Good Start, I think, or
that's right. Yeah, so there
were
so few, and but we had this job that was like this novel ingredient for North Americans, which was goat and goat milk. It's like, why am I going to feed my baby goat milk? That seems crazy. So we really started from scratch, and it was just an amazing experience. And so I was pregnant with my second son, like working away at this business, and really just like a million cold call emails a day out to US buyers, and like, you're never like, this is amazing. You want to have it like first on your shelves. We got to kind of do this and get out there. And then I was able to start a really great relationship with the national Whole Foods buyer, who was Dwight Richmond at that time. And he really like took a shot on us, and he agreed to place it nationally. So our first customer was a national Whole Foods launch, which was obviously
huge.
Amazing for
that's huge.
Yeah, and amazing for me. And I was like, all right, I'm back. Like I knew I could do this.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah, it was really, really great. And then shortly after, we had Sprouts, and then we ended up getting Safeway, and we just grew this business. It was like the first quarter for that business, I think it was like the first year was like 700,000, and then quickly it was like 3 million, 5 million. And so it just grew at this kind of huge rate. And it was just me. I was the salesperson, and we didn't really use a broker team. We didn't really use anyone. It was just like going in, telling the story, making that personal relationship, and really being selective about, who we sold to and how we sold in. And it was really amazing. And so I kind of did that sales part for a few years, and then moved into running both the sales and marketing, and then eventually started to run the company. And so for the last 4 years of my time there, I ran the North American business. And it was just an incredible experience, from traveling to Europe often to go kind of visit the plants, and there was a big international team. The product sold in Mexico and Brazil and Russia and the Middle East and all across Europe. And so we'd have these big like cabrita gatherings and learn and see the goats and visit the farms. And it was really interesting for me to be able to, obviously on the small scale, we had a really lean team of just 12, and most of the time it was a team of all women. And then we would go to this Dutch side, which was just a totally different business, which was a huge company, like €1 billion in sales. And it was just such a, there's just like such a difference.
Yeah.
But to be able to,
You're like the mini me.
that's right. We were like
Yeah.
the
Wow.
That's
So
also fun though. Yeah.
it is cool, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but that's hard too, because goat, I think it's the most consumed meat on the planet, but North America just doesn't get that.
That's right.
Other parts of the world is not a big deal. Like most countries eat goat,
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
right?
goat milk, like milk, right?
Yeah.
In North America, milk. You just say milk, and anyone who's ever been anywhere close to that industry goes, "Oh, yeah, God! Like, can we sell something else? Like anything else? Anything
Yeah.
else, right?" So, like goat milk, you immediately get drawn into that, sphere of no, it's got to be cow's milk. Like, who drinks anything else,
Yes.
right?
Well, I
Like,
think I
who
can only think of one brand in
uses
Canada
anything
that's
else, right?
done
Like,
well, and I can't remember the name of it
yeah,
now either.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
There's
It was
really
a
not.
it was a big learning curve, and just like making those plans and like the positioning of it
Mhm.
and how we're going to talk to people about it and the journey, and like the journey that the moms go on. And, we had, we had an incredible team that, it was like everyone just had such an amazing, strong skill set. And it was, even though there was just like a dozen of us supporting a pretty
Mhm.
big business, it was kind of like this amazing kind of symphony that really worked all together along with the parents too. And just having that, we really built the business on consumer generated content. So it was like the word of mouth, the moms using the product, they're saying that it's like reducing these symptoms and helping with tummy troubles, and they're sleeping better and stuff. So we just were like, this is our best evidence. And this is, mom to mom is really the best
Mhm.
way to go, as well as having that big reach
Mhm.
distribution and kind of pairing those things
But the
together.
right distribution too. Distributors
Yeah.
like a Whole Foods, a Sprouts, who
Yeah.
actually still have people in the store, will walk you through it, will know their products. Like you
Right.
can put it in Superstore and a Save On and a Metro, but who are you going
Yeah,
to talk to? Like
Yeah.
seriously, you don't need it's
but
until it gets to
yeah,
that point where it's self-educating, where people
Yeah.
know.
but you're also
That's a
in
tough gig.
you're in where the consumers are most receptive as well,
100%.
right?
The
Like,
Sprout consumer and the Whole
you
Foods
know,
consumer is already on board.
they're
May
they're
not be
they're
using it, but
about as
their mindset's
open-minded
there.
as you're gonna get, right?
Exactly.
As kind of like everywhere else you go, goat milk, and like immediately, like if you were in a superstore or in,
Or a Kroger's.
like
Really? I'm not
what?
gonna.
A what? Then no, like what what do I do with that, right? Like,
Yeah.
so at least in those places, okay, well, wait, tell me why, right? Like tell me why
Yeah.
before I laugh at you, right? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Or they'll
yeah,
Exactly.
tell
yeah,
you why.
yeah, yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
actually, yeah,
Yeah, often
yeah.
we would like both of my sons had like challenges with cow's milk, so it was obviously became like a personal story for me.
Mhm.
And then a lot of the buyers and different people we met, they're like, "Oh, my grandma fed us goat milk, like right from the goat."
Exactly.
I couldn't handle regular formula. And it was interesting too. It was also an education for me because we sold primarily in the US. I had really, being Canadian and understanding the Canadian, maternity leave. And,
Mhm.
it was just at the beginning, I was like, oh, I don't even really know much about formula, and I didn't really have to use it. And then, going out there and seeing like, oh, like the American moms get no maternity leave. And then
Well, they got
you
time to have the child.
they
I mean, what else do they want? Like a couple extra days,
I know.
Gosh,
Just like walk out of the hospital, and then they're like, but
yeah.
you should breastfeed and you should do this and you
When?
should do this. Exactly.
When?
It's like so unbelievably. So I was like, oh, this is like a feminist issue that like moms get to have one, that they have something that they feel is a choice. Because before us, it was like we have to use these big pharmaceutical companies and we don't even really want to support them. And if we can't breastfeed, we're not there. They just weren't feeling good about the
Right.
choices that they had. And it's like, okay, well, here's, we understand where you're at and why like this predicament even exists for you, and here's something, you know, that can hopefully help you and take like a little bit of stress off of you in this hard time. So it did feel like you know, just like really meaningful too, as we heard from moms, like very emotional stories, like, you know, I didn't want to go back to work and I was so worried, and then this worked perfectly, and you know, they're just so grateful to have an option. So
it's awesome.
It was really, it was great, you know, not without its stress for sure.
Well, you
part
don't
of it though.
We're getting to know you. You don't choose easy paths.
No, I think like the startup life, it's like that's the theme, right? It's always startup, and it's like, you know, I have a lot of energy and I have a lot of ideas, and you know, and sometimes the stress does like go a little too high. But then what I've learned along the way is like, okay, I need to like listen to my body. You know, I need to know how to take breaks. I don't want to be one of those people that, you know, you see these CEOs that are just making decisions out of adrenaline and not really thinking things through. So, you know, at Cabrita, I really learned how to, you know, have a team that were strong and capable to help me and take time to make decisions. Like I would say all the time, you know, I have, you know, if we're like, you know, missing sales by 10%, it's like the urge in me is to be like, oh, like everyone, we have to do something
Sell.
now.
Pick up a phone. Go call somebody.
Yeah. And then instead I'd just be like, okay, we're going to take one night. We're going to think about this. We're going to come back in the morning and we're going to make a plan that is going to work for us. And we're going to see it through. And it was like finding that grounded place in the chaos. Just, was like an invaluable tool that you know, I use all the time now.
Good for you.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So what? So now what?
So then, so then we get to, you know, not too long ago. So I was part of the like great resignation in the COVID period. You know, so, you know, we moved the team really well online. And then, you know, after a while, it just kind of kept coming to me that it's like, it just is not, you know, I'm just not in it the same way that I once was. And, you know, the business was growing and doing well and kind of hitting where it needed to be. And I just was ready to kind of start something else, you know, back to the startup life. So I ended up leaving. And I had a business partner who also had worked with me at Cabrita. She was the director of medical and consumer marketing. And, you know, we had kind of chatted on and off. We worked really well together. And so we decided that we would kind of take a chance and start a consulting business together. So that was the birth of Uprising Naturals. And basically the business has a kind of a few different parts because we can never just do one thing. So we do the corporate.
We totally hear you.
Yeah, I know you understand my kindred people.
Boy.
Yeah, so basically, we do consulting, corporate consulting, a lot of it around like sales and marketing strategy. Sometimes we do some fractional work, whether it's mostly on the sales and marketing side, but could be operational side too. But really where our passion is around like the innovation, the marketing journey, and growing new channels. And then the other part of the business is we do some coaching, or I do some coaching for CEOs and founders that are moving into a CEO role, or people who have been out of work for a period of time that are trying to kind of get back in. And then we also have online courses, which are super fun and have just been like an amazing passion project. So we have they're mostly really curated to obviously CPG, natural and organic CPG, like founders or like C-suite executives. So we have like mapping your vision and core values. And we have one called Recession Proof Your CPG Business. And then we just launched another one that is medical marketing for CPG
Oh,
brands,
that's
which
very useful.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
exciting. It was a huge channel for us at Cabrita. And then actually a lot of our corporate clients, our work there has been like opening the HCP channel to them with healthcare, the healthcare professional,
Right.
healthcare provider
Mhm.
channel,
Mhm.
which can be a huge source of referral to kind of
Huge.
any natural product.
Yeah, but
Huge.
you don't approach those guys properly,
Yes.
and you miss your chance, right? Like
You
it's
miss your chance.
you're one and done, really. So yeah,
That's right. And it can be
yeah.
so expensive. So we really, the old method, of course, with baby formula and pharma, it's like the old method is like door to door, like 200 people sales
Mhm.
team. And what we developed at Cabrita was a full digital model. And so like a low cost digital model to sell and market to HCPs. So that's kind of
Nice.
what we're sharing on
Yeah,
level. Yeah,
Good
there.
for you.
it's awesome.
Good for you.
Yeah, yeah, it's really,
Wow.
really great. And so it's like such a, my business partner, Annie, we just maybe similar to you guys, we just get along really well. It's like every day, it's just like such a pleasure to work together and to get to meet all of these different brands. And now, being on so many sides of different businesses, and now I get to just be invited into more businesses, and I get to see their P&Ls, and I get to help them. And
It's pretty fun.
It's fun.
yeah, it's
It's
so
pretty fun.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
I
Yeah,
think it's what we love the most about
Yeah.
doing that part of like we love the podcast clearly, but that side of it we really love. Like we love being able to get in and then, just help them grow, right? Like,
yes,
yeah, help them find the formulas for growth is really cool.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's really great. And seeing the innovation, the product innovation, and like the new founders and the different ways, like the different technologies that people are using, it's like, we're there to help them, but then we always get insight into, just like new ways that businesses run, new types of software. And so it's like every client we have almost like helps the next client
Right. For
and
sure.
so on, which
Yeah.
is, yeah, really great.
Yeah.
So,
Good for you.
we're loving it so far. And yeah, it's just been really nice to kind of pivot. And it's also interesting to also not have that constant stress. It's like a different sort of level, right? But it's
I
like
like it. It's a
going with
diversity
business.
too. Like it's never one thing. And ultimately, it's really not all yours, which is kind of
Yeah,
nice too, right? You get a whole different perspective. It's easier when you're not so deep in the shit. Like it's really like you can see things, right? And you can actually help them push and guide, and it's different.
I think the variety, for
Yeah, I
me, it's
love the
the
variety
variety.
is
The
that's
variety
the kicker
keeps
for me.
it fresh and
Yeah, my mind's
like I
always
feel like
running
I'm a
different. I enjoy it
better consultant when I'm doing
more
more.
different.
yeah,
Does that
yeah. I think so
I see
too.
understanding that. I like this
Yeah,
because
yeah, I
sometimes
know.
we share that and people go
Sometimes
like
just me and Phil
what?
looking at each other and
Like
smiling. Nobody else understands what the hell we're
yeah.
talking about. So
But you really are a kindred spirit. I
I
feel at home
am.
here.
I think you are
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I mean, I think there's a lot of us that have been around for a while, and it's like, we like the excitement of the industry, and we like, the startup life for the most part.
Mm.
As I get older, sometimes I'm like,
Well, but there's aspects of it that you kind of think,
yeah,
that someone else can do that part.
Yeah.
yeah,
No
Yeah.
thanks. I don't need to do that part. But yeah, no,
And then
I
there's
like
others
it.
you kind of just really love getting your hands dirty on because it's just,
Yeah.
it's the cool shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, it's such a
Wow.
great industry. We're so
I love
lucky
it.
to be in it, and
100%.
yeah, it
100%.
feels like
Wouldn't
we
change
make
it.
an impact.
Yeah. Wouldn't change it at all.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
thank you
glad you did
guys.
that. That was good.
I feel like we don't have enough time. We're kind of at the end. Will you come back on?
Sure.
Yeah, we would
Yeah.
love that. Really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming. Where do people find you and Uprising Naturals?
Yeah. So you can find just like uprisingnaturals.com, also on LinkedIn. And that's it. We're just like
Okay.
very corporate, just in those channels.
Button down, baby, button down.
Button
I
down.
like
We
it.
don't have time to make cool TikToks. We're
Yeah.
not
Not
cool.
yet, but you never
Not
know.
yet. Not yet. Working on
Maybe
it.
next time I come on, I'll do a
Well,
TikTok.
I think, you know what, it's the never. Like, never is just such a long time. I think when we were talking a year ago with them, I said, I don't fucking TikTok. It's so stupid. And now we've been talking. Now I've been trying to push him. I think we should do some TikTok.
No, we're doing
I
it.
don't know what the hell we would do with it,
He
but
keeps saying we should do it. I'm like, we're
we,
doing it. We're already,
no, but
we're already
we,
doing
not
it.
just you, we
Oh
just don't know
no,
what to
see,
do.
but that's a you now, right? Because I'm already on there.
We,
You just gotta
you,
go and
me,
do
same,
it, you know?
same.
Like
It's all the
Same,
same.
same.
Same. Me, you, him. Same.
Oh man. Oh
That's all
man.
good.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for
Yeah.
coming on.
And I'm really glad to catch up with you. I
Yeah,
feel
it's nice.
like we
I feel like
I
I've
don't know.
known you for a long. I
Yeah.
feel like every time
Yeah,
I
I
feel like
really
I've
do.
known you.
Yeah.
I think I'm positive we've met time before. I'm
I'm
positive,
sure we probably have.
but it's just, you know, my memory's just my memory.
Yeah, me too.
But I do. I feel like I've known you for years, so I don't
Oh, that's nice. Well, we're kindred spirits.
exactly.
Mhm.
Okay,
Anyway, so
very cool.
you come back on when you want, and then if you guys have new updates or you have a new course,
Or if
Yep.
you want to talk
come
more
back
about the
and
course, I mean, you
we'll
can both come on and we can go through that,
yeah,
because I think
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
fascinating too.
Yeah, for sure. We would love that.
Sometime in the new year,
It's
let's do it.
that's an interesting one. We should probably think about doing just like brainstorming, but to do a couple of fast thoughts on your courses. Because
Oh, yeah.
I think like so the I know I said thank you, but like the part that is striking me this week in particular is you're watching some of the dominoes fall, right? Like the tech companies have all laid
Yeah,
off a bunch of people, like
been a big, yeah,
like forget
interesting week.
Twitter because who knows what Elon really wants to do, but like Lyft the driving service laid off a bunch of people.
Well,
Facebook
Meta
just
just
laid
left
off
off 10,
Meta,
11,000
sorry,
people or
like
whatever the hell it is.
11,000 people, right? So the kind of like tech bits of the business have started to, it's kind of like this is the part that I think is going to make brands very nervous, right? So
Yeah.
the recession proofing is something.
It's timely,
Yeah. Yeah,
very
for
timely.
sure.
Yeah.
It's been yeah, it's actually been a really popular course. And yeah, it's good. It's easy for people to do too. It's just like, I think it's just 3 modules and it's
Mhm,
just kind of going through things and like doing,
mhm.
a not too difficult analysis of the business.
Right.
And yeah, there's just so much you can do there in advance. As we know, it's like with the story like of the $250,000, it's like if you can do things in advance to just make some choices, you're gonna feel better as things get wavy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Very cool.
funny. The last bit there is like I came from Whole Foods today. I went to buy some stuff, and I called Kenny. I called him and missed him. So and he said, "Oh, I'll call you back in a second." I said, "No need. I just called to rant because I left Whole Foods and spent all this money on not very many products, right?" But I I, I think even like the net out of that is like for brands to have that self-inflection to go like, where do I fit on the spectrum of, price elasticity, right? Like, am I a luxury that, and who do I compete with, right? Because it's not simple. Like it's not, oh, well, I'm a dessert, so I compete with other desserts. It's going to be, I'm a $15 ring. What else is $15
I'm
and
half the
what are they gonna?
size
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
double the
Yeah,
price.
so what am I
And
doing?
I'm new and I'm kind of nichey.
Yes, that sounds familiar.
Wow. How's that going to play out if we hear the word recession one more time before Christmas?
Yeah,
I swear to God, I'm going to knock someone's head off. But, we potentially could be heading in some very interesting times, not forever, like always. I mean,
Yeah,
it'll
yeah.
do its
Couple
thing.
of
You just
years. Yeah,
get ready, buckle up, you
yeah,
tighten up. It's not rocket science. You just have to be ready for it. But to Phil's point, we were talking, I said, I think there's a lot of new and cool that's happened in the last couple of years, but I think
yeah,
people have lost sight of the fact that you still have to be affordable, whatever that means, or have
Mhm.
a value proposition that can resonate with enough people to make sure that you're still viable. And
But I also
six
think,
people can't be buying you. Six people is
yeah,
not, a
yeah,
Bugatti, six people can do it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Six people on a chocolate bar or yogurt or a drink or whatever that's a tough gig.
Yeah.
Tough gig.
yeah.
Agreed.
Doable, but tough gig.
Hmm.
We'll talk about it in January.
Yep. Recession proof, that CPG
Yep.
business.
Yep.
Uprisingnaturals.com.
Good plug.
Great.
Yay!
There
Good
you
plug.
go.
All right.
Thank you
Thanks,
guys.
Awesome.
Simona.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Have a
We'll
wonderful
catch
night.
up with
Thanks
you.
for staying up with us.
Oh yeah, no
Because
problem.
Simona's East Coast, she's Toronto
only
like
8
me, so
o'clock.
it's like 11 o'clock.
It's 8:01.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Still look bright and shiny.
You both look really good
Amazing.
for 11 o'clock, so it's good.
Yeah.
Be happy.
Kindred
You can go to
spirits. Told you.
go to bed now. Bill, you
Thanks,
hang on.
Simona.
Simona, thanks
Okay.
very much.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care of yourself.
It
That's cool.
really.
No, she's cool. She's done a lot of neat things, right?
I'm gonna find her for coffee too.
You should.
Yeah.
You should. You should. I like her. There's something about her. I feel like I feel like we really have known her. I've known her for a long time.
We like so we I don't know if anybody's listening because we're an hour in, but if you're still around, we've only talked to Simona twice. Once was a get to know you, and then the second was the fast thought recording,
But that's it.
and that's it.
Oh, I could have sworn we did a podcast already, or
Nope.
maybe that
But
was the
that felt
talk.
but that felt about as easy as natural is gonna get. So
I told you, I
yeah.
feel like I've known her, so I don't know if
Yeah,
these are
so
right.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna reach out. So I'm actually gonna I may share it. I'll see how Jared feels about it. But we were talking about we've done so much talking about his podcast, but it's not even out yet. But Dave Schneiderman of Two Bears,
That was a fun one.
he launched his what did he launch? He launched the espresso martini drink.
Right.
And everyone's kind of freaking out over it. And I said to Jared Kilgerman, who's kind of he's a consultant like us in the space, and he's also an influencer. But I said to him, "Hey, I've never met you in person. Let's go to Dave's bar, like his coffee bar here in Etobicoke, and,
That's a good
and
idea.
grab a coffee together." So I think we're gonna do that the week of the 21st of November. So it'd be pretty cool.
Well, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
I think we've been chatting quite a bit online with him. I think you actually owe him some. You're going to owe him some product because I don't want to ship it from here. When the new size of the chai and the dirty chai come out,
Okay.
I think I promised him
Okay.
some samples.
Okay.
He gave me his address, so he's on your side of the world. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
think
he's
we'll
out
do
here.
that.
So yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, well, he asked, it goes, I'd be like, I'd like to say, well, I'll be careful. I mean, if you really want to. So I told him, I said, send me so he pinged me his address. So yeah, whatever. I'll send you some saps.
That's cool.
Try it out. See what you
Very
think.
cool.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks for
Well,
listening.
this was a long day. Thanks to everybody for listening.
Thanks for listening.